What is up, comic fans? Welcome to the channel. Tonight is the big night. This is at year's end. We're going to take a spoiler-filled look back at this entire year in comics, movies, and more. But before we do any of that, check this out. Go ahead and give the shout out to the channel sponsor, Big Time Collectibles. They sponsor the channel members giveaway for every month. Be sure to check them out at their website and on social media. And if you need anything cleaner press, hit up our friend Justin. The link to all the sponsors are in the description of all the videos. So let's get into it. This was a massive year, from DC's best cinematic year in a decade to right here at the end, them just flipping it on their heads, to Marvel's worst outing in their existence on the big screen, to saving it at the last minute, from John Kent coming into his own, all the way to getting John Romita Jr. on Spider-Man. It has been a banger of a year. We got Peacemaker and She-Hulk in the same year. Can you believe that shit? So to talk about this, as always, I've got all my bestest friends that are around. We got new guy Ryan. What is happening?
What is up, man?
We got Mr. Paul and we got Mr. Chris. My guys, how are y'all?
You covered just about everything in that intro. It's like we got nothing else to talk about.
And like it wasn't controversial at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at all. I think it was pretty factual, to be honest with you, like across the board. DC was doing so good till right here at the end. Marvel was doing so bad till right here at the end. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
And we got Peacemaker and She-Hulk in the same year.
The same year.
And Moon Knight finally too. Like,
true.
Yeah,
that happened.
Yeah, that happened. And for the Year of the Spider, it was Miles the whole way when it comes to the printed book.
Wow, that's a big thing to say, knowing that JR took over the primary title. And I know he's an acquired taste, but still, he's legendary in his own right.
100%.
We still had a little bit of the Nick Spencer era at the front end, right?
We did. We had Nick finishing up his volume. We had Nick do a little bit of the Sinister War as well, and then he's gone.
And then we had that weird amalgam thing where we had multiple writers playing round robin on the title until they settled on Zeb Wells, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to do a special episode tonight. So if you're in the chat, go and start thinking of like your top three. And it doesn't have to be three, but top three comics of the year, ongoing titles, single issue titles, favorite shows, movies. We're not going to do a worst of, because why? Why would we end the year on a negative Nancy note? So I'm sure stuff will get mentioned. We already said She-Hulk, so obviously that we're scraping the bottom of the barrel at the start of the show. But we're not going to harp on those things. We're not going to spend that much time. We're going to talk about what we enjoyed this year. We're here to be positive. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and we're bringing the vibes with it. So I hope everyone's had a good night. I hope they're having a happy holidays. I mean, I'm having a great tail into my weekend here. Got an amazing day spending time with the fam. I was able to see Avatar for the second time today with my oldest and my wife. And another one that's crazy to think that some of these things we've seen on the big screen, special effects wise, came out the same year this did. It really takes away all the excuse that people have sometimes, but it was a gorgeous film. Let's say hey to the chat real quick and we'll get into it. We got Mr. TM Nerdy up in the building. What is going on? Hello from the dark side of the moon. Las Cruces, hello from New Mexico. TM beat him. That's
wow.
It's not usual.
Wow.
James, come on, man.
What is going on, Loki Dragonborn? How are you doing? Hello from Asgard. I'm liking this. Liking this. Coco Love Chevy is in the building. Merry Christmas, brother. Ignacio, how are you doing? Here to see Chris dance.
Who isn't?
DJ
that makes every top three list.
Absolutely. DJ Links is in the building. Son of Bruce, aka the other Chris. How are you doing? I hope you and Kelly are having a great evening. Totally forgot about She-Hulk and Moon Knight. Yeah, most people did. Paul Rogers, what is going on? Man, I miss seeing Paul. I miss him to death. El Green Machine, what is happening? What is happening? Mark is fired up. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm all the way avatared right now, my dude. Hello from the slums of Shaolin. Hey, my dog's doing his pacing thing, so y'all go ahead and kick it off. I got to get this guy before he has an accident.
Okay. Where to begin? Everyone that's watching, we collectively picked a bunch of subjects or topics we wanted to spotlight that we enjoyed. And all of us, except for Mark, came up with a top 3 list for all these things. And Mark's going to kind of wing it.
You got some random stuff written down. I don't know where it's going to fall.
I kind of feel the 3 of us here would be the guys that finish our homework, and Mark would be the guy that walks in at 5 to 9 saying, "Hey, let me see your homework."
Yeah,
but I would only ask for a couple of answers from each of you, so they didn't know we copied.
The worst part about that is he would get better scores than we did.
Right.
How did I get a C and Mark got an A again?
I will say, like, League of Comic Geeks really saved me on this one because my memory is absolute garbage.
Yeah, you rate all your books as you go on there.
Yeah, and so I actually found you can sort the books you read by newest to oldest and stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I was able to actually sort the list of books I've read, like all 1,200 or something that I've logged in there, and then just sort them like newest to oldest. And so I was able to see everything that I've read in 2022 at the top. And I was like, oh, okay, this helps a ton. But now my lists are too long, so it's a double-edged sword.
Y'all ready to kick this off? And let's kick it off. We're gonna be starting with comics tonight. So if you're in the chat, go ahead and start thinking about some of your favorite reads of the year. So do y'all want to start with single issue and move on from there?
Sure.
Now this can include, the way I see it, is any single issue of a comic book. It doesn't have to be. It can be an issue out of a run or anything, but just 3 of your most enjoyable reads of the year.
2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I segregated one shot and single issue. So
well, we can do them separate as well.
For that.
Do it.
Yep.
Let's start with the one shots then.
Okay.
Cool. Should I go first?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So you want like all 3 of them at once?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so my 3 favorite one-shots of the year were Batman One Bad Day, The Riddler, The New Golden Age, and Superman Space Age.
Superman Space Age is a series. That's why I wanted to just...
Oh, that's true. There were 2 of those.
We're on issue 2 of 3, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait, there's a 3rd one?
Yeah, we got one more.
Coming out in February.
February.
Oh, cool. Well, number 4 was Superman War World Apocalypse. So we can drop Space Age down to single issue.
Nice. Paul, what do you got?
All right. I have number 3 was New Golden Age. Number 2 was One Bad Day Riddler. And number 1 for me was Dark Crisis World Without a Justice League Superman.
Oh. Okay.
Chris?
I totally forgot about that Superman book. Okay.
My
top three one shots. My top 3 one shots were number 3 was Hell is a Squared Circle, which was released on Aftershock, the oversized prestige format similar to DC versus Black Label. Loved it. Actually, I got it right here at my foot just because I just loved the cover of it. But yeah, Hell is a Squared Circle was a fantastic read. Number 2 for me was Mary Jane and Black Cat, the one shot Beyond. It was a part of the Beyond Corporation tie-in. It was fantastic, done by Jed McKay. Totally stood alone, even though it had a touch of the Beyond Corporation in the background. Just to see those 2 characters interact, knowing that one is in love with Peter and the other one loves to mess around with Peter. It was a fantastic read, but above and beyond all of it, by a country mile, was One Bad Day, The Riddler. That was just fantastic.
Yeah, so I had I've got Hell is a Squared Circle because I absolutely love that too, because it was just refreshing, and I don't read too much outside of the DC universe just because I'm invested so heavily in that with my time. And then Riddler One Bad Day was easily number 2 for me, and the one Paul mentioned, Worlds Without a Justice League Superman, was by far my favorite one shot of the year. And man, I teared up twice in that book. And that Riddler book, I mean, I've not seen a book structured so masterfully in my life. Like that was a master's class in how to write a comic book.
And it also, to me, it stuck to what the premise of what the whole One Bad Day is. And none of them have after that.
Yep. To borrow from Alan Moore,
Tom King understood the assignment.
Perfect. Yeah.
Go figure. You have to be able to read to write.
Out.
It was good. Hell in a Circle was good.
Yeah, it was fun, and I think that one hit so heavily for me because I got back into wrestling this year. Like
Okay.
I've watched like a lot of old like wrestling stuff from growing up of WCW, and when I mentioned that to some other people that watch wrestling now, they're like, "Dude, you got to check out AEW." And like I got into it right as like stuff like that was really starting to come out. So I'm like, "Dude, it was just adding to my excitement at the time. It was perfect,
Yeah.
perfect."
Yeah, a highlight for AEW was CM Punk's return to Chicago. Oh, that was good to watch, and the fans' reaction to it. But anyways, let's move on.
Yeah, the second highlight was when they went back to Chicago after he was fired, and everyone chanting "F Punk, F Punk." They were so mad at him after like he didn't. They appreciated him. He didn't appreciate him back the way he acted in that company. It's a shame. I'd love to see his little. I caught the tail end of his run with him, and it was okay. It was fine. I like seeing these younger guys get their up and comings proper though. It's been fun watching. So I want to move on to ongoing series. Now I have these written down.
Okay.
I'm going to go first on this one. Number 3 for me.
Question: is this a one singular comic from a series or just ongoing series?
No, like favorite series, whether it be an ongoing series or a mini series, a favorite non-one shot. So in order for me, number 3, Do a Powerbomb. Phenomenal. So good. Number 2, Superman Space Age. Ridiculous. And number 1 for me has been Starhenge, believe it or not. It was just such an oddity that I just completely found myself transported. Every single issue I read, I was all the way down to my ankles in that book, top to bottom. Like it was crazy.
Gross.
Oh, you like it. You like it.
2 of those actually made my list, but I listed those two as limited series. So for ongoing, I actually picked number 3, Department of Truth. Number 2, Batman Superman World's Finest. And number 1, Action Comics.
Okay.
Yeah, think about it. All 3 of those I listed were all limited series, weren't they?
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the third one was, but
Starhenge, Space Age, and Powerbomb. Yeah, all
Space Age
all
is
3 were
also
limited
limited.
series. Yeah, I guess we're doing limited series then.
Okay. Limited series.
I didn't break it down by limited, but we'll go.
We'll roll with it.
So for limited series, then I would have 8 Billion Genies would be number 3. Dark Crisis for me would be number 2, and Do a Powerbomb would be number 1.
Okay. Awesome. Well, fellas, I broke my top 3 series down by publisher. I went Marvel, DC, and Independent. But what I'm going to do right now is just spotlight my favorite particular singular issues for 2022, if that's okay.
Do you?
Now, I need a little bit of help for this. My number 3, I believe, is for the. Let me just set the scene. Jonathan Kent is flying over the planet and hears something. And
that was my number 1. That was my number 1.
What he hears is a heartbeat, and it's the heartbeat of his father. Was this? I thought that was Superman
Son of Kal-El, issue 16.
Number 16, part 2 of The Return of Kal-El.
Right.
That was my number 1 single issue for the year.
That's my number 3. My number 2 singular issue is DC versus Vampires number 6.
Is that
where we get exposed to who the Vampire King is?
That was nuts.
And what he does to Batman, and just flips the whole idea of the Holy Trinity and throws it right out the window, because Batman falls as his heart is ripped out of his chest from the back by Nightwing, who is the Vampire King. And my number 1, and if anyone has not read We Live Volume 2, hit the mute button right now or turn the volume down. You do not want to hear this. But We Live number 4 out of Volume 2, where we lose Tala, was my number 1 issue. That one hit harder than anything that I've read this year, just because of those 2 kids that everyone falls in love with in Volume 1, and to see what Hototo goes through afterwards just drives home the point of how important We Live is on the comic book landscape for me.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, those are my 3 favorite singular issues.
What are we doing next?
I can pick some single issues.
Okay.
Go for it.
Action Comics 1041. This was Midnighter's Tale. This is when Midnighter starts an uprising inadvertently and like changes the entire scope of the War World saga. So that issue like stood out for me. I love it. It's one of my favorites. I've actually reread it like
accidentally starts an uprising.
I just love whenever he's like popping people's heads off and just like tossing them to the side. They're like, I don't think Superman would do that. He's like, yeah, Big Blue has problems. So yeah, that was a standout issue for me. Son of Kal-El 16 for sure, but also number 9 when he teams up with Nightwing and the man dies like right in front of him, and it just like rocks his world. And that moment when he just turns around and looks at Nightwing, and Nightwing like puts it all together is like, oh yeah, like you're Superman, dude. Like everything goes perfect for you, and this is the first time you've experienced that not happening. And that was just like a really powerful moment for Tom Taylor to pull off. And then do a power bomb. I'm pretty sure it's issue number 3. I didn't have time to go back and check specifically, but when it ends with us realizing that Cobra Sun is it number 2? Wherever it ends, and she finds out that that's her dad. Like
she finds out.
We find out that that's her dad. You know, like that was just like mind blowing. That like he had already done a twist in the issue. In the issue previous, and then to like twist again in the second one was just like I've never seen a comic have a twist in every issue that I completely did not see coming. So that would probably be my favorite like single issue of anything I read this year.
All right, in my 3, my third one was, and help me here, Chris. I think it was Amazing Spider-Man. I believe it was number 6, the Day of Judgment issue.
Yes.
Where Peter gets to actually talk to Gwen again.
Yes.
And everything that went on in that issue was probably, to me, is the best issue that Zeb Wells has written since he's been on the title.
Mm-hmm.
It was just incredible. Number 2, I had Dual Powerbomb number 7. If you're not crying by the time you get to the last 3 pages,
you don't have a heart.
You're a little bit dead inside. And then number 1 was Superman Son of Kal-El number 16, because as Chris mentioned, he heard his father's heartbeat, but how that connects to him is when he was young, he was trying to control his powers. And what he would do is he would concentrate on his father's heartbeat in order to control his powers. And then when they do meet up again together, because he hears the heartbeat and he just zooms off, he's like I'm trying my best, and Clark is like, I know. It's like, I know. It was just an incredible conversation and dynamic between Jonathan and Clark.
I really feel like this was like massively Superman's year. Like it was such a redemption year for Superman. It's ridiculous. Yep. So it's hard not to just be repetitive with some of these, especially some of the characters. But one that hasn't been mentioned that I would add to this, because I would just repeat some of these, but one I would add is Dark Crisis, the proper title, issue 6, because John Kent earned his place in DC Comics this year, and he did it in spades. Like he took on the entire Dark Army by himself, knowing he's dying, doing it just so his friends can get out. And he's laying there, he's sitting there on his knees, bleeding and battered, with Doomsday charging him, arms down, accepting his fate because he knows that he did his job and it's what his dad would do. And he just utters to himself, like, pretty much, I hope I made you proud. And he closes his eyes as the fist is coming. And you turn the page to just an explosion, John's cape flying back, and his dad holding Doomsday's fist, where his dad got there right on time. And I'm just like,
Kal-El, baby, Kal-El.
Oh my God. I was audible. I was teary-eyed. I just wanted to throw the book just so I could like pace around with my arms up. It was like one of the coolest moments, just knowing what John has been going through with what you mentioned with Nightwing, what he dealt with Gamora, because that was a story about like him trying to save people, but it was utter loss. That whole run was about John dealing with loss, the loss of his father, the loss of their home, the loss of their safety, the loss of innocent people when that flood came. Just that one life was too much on him. His entire year was about dealing with loss. And just to see that he was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice right at the end. And then like it was just amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that issue also made my it was like my number 5 favorite issue of the year just because of that moment as well. And like the big battle, like all of that was really cool to see, but to have a heartfelt moment right in the middle of it like that really made that issue stand out in the whole Dark Crisis thing.
Dude, like 100%. What's so great about Tom Taylor? He hits these emotional beats, and it doesn't feel campy. It doesn't feel cheesy. It's not like forced in there. It's flawless the way he does it. It might not be your cup of tea to like in the comic books. You might just be looking for fast-paced action, but for what he's doing, it is flawless. And then to think you can go pick up Dark Knights of Steel, Deceased, and there's also vastly different and also perfectly executed for the genre he's doing. He's so versatile. Very impressive. What is going on, Pops?
My limited series top 3, because at least 2 of these haven't even been mentioned yet, and I know we'll want to talk about them. Flashpoint Beyond.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that was my number 3. Human Target was my number 2, and then my number 1 limited series of the year is also like my favorite series of the year, like best comics in general, and that's of course Do a Power Bomb.
I would have to add to the limited comics of the year, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. That book was a solid.
It was actually on my list, but the last 2 issues dropped like January, February, so I was like, that feels a little 2021.
Yeah, I'm twisting the arm on that one.
I feel that story would be the one where the 4 of us would just handily agree they should make an animated film out of that particular story.
Yeah, that's a good one for a DC animated movie for sure. Mm-hmm. Especially if they would go back to the days when they intentionally animated it to mimic the artwork of the comic book. I get they like to do the shared universe stuff, and so they want it to look the same. But man, when you go back to the days when they were mimicking Michael Turner or McGinnis or Quietly, like that was just like it just added that extra layer to it for me.
Technically, that story is in continuity too, so it wouldn't be anything weird for them to animate it outside of their like DC connected universe,
Mm-hmm. But they did find a great footing with what they're doing them, so that's just me nitpicking. What are some other lists we can hit?
Since we're kind of doing limited series, I'm gonna give my top 3 independents for the year then, because most of the independent stuff falls under a limited umbrella. Yeah, it's very rare where you have an independent that's ongoing. But my number 3 spot is actually a tie. Everything except for Do a Power Bomb, Taylor.
Yeah, literally everything.
Yeah.
Curveball. He only read 10 books.
I think this might be the one where Taylor would kind of agree with me. I have a tie at number 3. It's Dark Spaces Wildfire. It's tied with New Burn. Both were fantastic. 2 different styles of writing, 2 different narratives entirely. Yet Snyder with one, and we have Zdarsky with the other. And what Snyder is doing with a group of women who are stuck in prison and they're inmates, and they get the opportunity to go battle wildfires in the United States. However, they're trying to plan a big escape. It's just a fun ride to be a part of and a witness. And I enjoy the perspective and the narrative, how the story is told and how the artwork delivers that particular way. New Burn, almost everyone knows. Everyone loves a good detective story. When you tie in multiple mafia families and how he is a little bit of a fixer and the go-between between all those mafia families that's going on, it is just a great read. Zdarsky, pound for pound, might be the best writer of 2022 in my opinion. In the number 2 spot, I have 8 Billion Genies. What an original concept. Came out of nowhere as far as I'm concerned. The pacing was good. I'm kind of looking forward to spin-offs of this one, just where they return to timelines, because as we all know, each book had a different timeline with further away from when the event actually happened. And number 1, With a Bullet, is Do a Power Bomb. This is a story, essentially, it represents wrestling, but this is a story about family, about loss, not a young person not being able to deal with loss, and the whole idea of memories, losing memories. It's just a touching story. And Johnson, my God, he's just one of those guys that doesn't need an artist to deliver a story, because God damn it, he can do it himself.
Yeah. I wanted to add to that. Oh, I was gonna say I want to add to that just because New Bern is on my list. I put it under ongoing though, because it is supposed to return. But the other thing I want to add to that though is like not just like how great of a character New Bern is and like how his story is told throughout all that, but his backup, like the way that her story unfolds, and she goes from like this person that's kind of suspicious of him to this person that kind of understands like his rock in a hard place kind of situation and what he's actually doing as a go-between before the police and everything, and then to find out her backstory and how like she's all caught up in some crazy mess too. Like I thought that was just like a really great series. I really enjoyed the artwork on it. The backup stories for it were a little like they were like very like extracurricular, you know. But all in all, like the main story and the way that your B plot kind of becomes your A plot by the end of it all, like absolutely phenomenal series. I can't wait for that one to return.
Yeah, my indies, I actually ended up with 4 because I couldn't figure out which one I wanted to take off. So
It's acceptable.
so my 4 are Starhenge was on there because Starhenge is any comic book that I read twice, but the first time I just want to look at the pictures, and the second time I'll go through and read everything that's there. So it's great if you're into science fiction. It's great if you're into just drooling over the art. It's great if you're into English history. It's great into it just hits so many things, and he's just knocking it out of the park. So that was one. My second one is one that I don't think we've ever talked about. It's called Once in Future.
Oh, that ended this year, didn't it?
It did, but it's supposed to come back eventually. But that it's got a guy that will be on another one of my lists, Dan Mora, doing the art. And Kieran Gillen is the guy who writes it. Again, it's a great new take on the whole Arthur history and everything. And then 2 that we've talked about are 8 Billion Genies and Do a Powerbomb, number 1, because Do a Powerbomb works on so many different levels. If you're a wrestling fan, it's definitely there. If you just if you just like interesting story, it's certainly fills every single bucket there too. So,
Mark.
I don't think I'd have any indies that y'all didn't mention from like Department of Truth, Starhenge, Do a Powerbomb. That's pretty. We Live.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I read any other indies to be honest with you. I read Righteous Thirst for a while, which was pretty cool. I like that. I read New Bern for a while, but obviously Starhenge was my number one indie pick of the year. It really is. Like Do a Powerbomb is great. It hits all these notes, but it doesn't feel like it's even necessarily fair to try to even group those two together. They're just so far separated in genre and scope and everything. Like,
well, and that's my biggest problem with any of these lists is like, even if we go down to like top 3, I mean, really for me, like top 5 is basically books that I think are better than every other book on the
they're
show.
all number ones. I'm not putting any specific.
It's so hard because there's so many different elements and like. I know Lost in Comics, they kind of had like a nomination thing. He asked me to shoot a nomination. And I actually went with Superman Action Comics on that one. Mm-hmm. And my reasoning was completely because me and Chris from Lost in Comics, that's what we connected over this year was Action Comics and everything with Philip Kennedy Johnson going on, and all that. So for me, it was like, Do a Powerbomb is definitely my favorite series of this year. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to nominate something on a channel, like I'm going to pick something I connected with the channel owner over, So that's Action Comics took it there, but by no means does it mean either of those books are lesser than the other one because phenomenal stuff.
Yes, Starhenge to me when I read it, it's very rare that you can read something and to me you feel like you're reading an epic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what Starhenge brings to the reading experience for me anyway.
Absolutely.
Wait till y'all read the final issue. Just wait.
That's the thing. I haven't even quite finished it. I still got...
just wait. I bet you're gonna be like, I think it's gonna be harder to just say outright Do a Powerbomb was the favorite series. It's gonna be a little more difficult.
It's giant shoes. Giant shoes.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I love Do a Powerbomb. I'm a huge Daniel Warren Johnson fan though. Like, he's done nothing wrong in his entire career up to now. Who else can say that?
Co-signing Jurassic League is about as bad as it gets, and that was still halfway decent on the cover work.
Mm-hmm. That's all he did was the cover work. So
knock that out of the park. The rest of the series could have burned in hell. Y'all want to talk about some creators? that
Let's
stood
do
out
it.
to us this year?
Sure.
All right, let's start with the artists. Let's go with 3 artists that just stood out to you this year, from cover artist to interior artist, favorite interiors, favorite cover, whatever you want to go with. Just 3 standout artists for you this year.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll go first. Um, uh, I'm gonna go with the guy you can't go wrong with, Alex Ross. I don't know if you guys have read the Full Circle, the Fantastic Four Full Circle.
No,
It was incredible. He does whatever he does is. I mean, he kind of goes without saying, and maybe that's kind of an easy pick to say Alex Ross, but
it is
um,
Yeah.
the
Thanks,
easiest.
Paul.
Fix.
Yeah, Alex Ross. Yeah, thanks.
Hot take,
Yeah.
Alex
I was
Ross.
gonna say, I was gonna say, I think there's
Okay.
2 artists out there that you're
if,
safe
if,
with.
if,
I
if
didn't put
whatever he's
Ross on
doing
my
on the
list
if
anymore.
whatever he's doing on the side doesn't work out, he should come as an artist.
Yeah, exactly.
But I actually love that book, The Full Circle. It was just the art. Anyway, Dan Mora for me,
See, number
who
2.
to me is the hardest working man in comics right now. He was doing Once and Future and World's Finest at the same time. Now he's going to be doing World's Finest and Brave and the Bold, and he's going back to do some Power Ranger stuff, I think, too. So he's just the hardest working guy. And then the last one is a cover artist for me, Steve Beach. Who's been doing the latest Action Comics. He has a style that to me looks like it looks like Steve Rude, but a more defined Steve Rude. Like Steve Rude has almost kind of this like washed out effect to his stuff, but Steve Beach to me looks a lot like Steve Rude, but it is much more defined, much more detailed, much more defined. Um, he was able on one of the covers. I can't think what cover it was, but he drew Superman, and his costume, the costume that he wore, looked like it came off of George Reeve from The Adventures of Superman. It was just phenomenal. So that's the one.
Yep. This was the biggest breakout artist for me of the year, because every other artist that's going to make my list, I've been a fan of before this year.
So you have Alex Ross too.
Yeah, no, he's like my number 1 favorite artist of my life. He brought me Kingdom Come. He changed comic books forever for me, and to this day, he is still will and always will be my number 1 favorite artist there is. But Steve Beach hit my radar. He hit it hard, and he drove it home, just like you said. That look for George Reeves, and not just that, the way he like kind of does the style and art of every character on there. He has that classic but new, it's unique but memorable. Like it's just this very unique take on all these characters. Look at Darkseid right next to Ryan's face. Like that's a crazy take on Darkseid, but you know it's him because you see like
I wear it well.
Yeah, pretty much look the same. And then when he did this for 1050, I'm like, dude, that is nuts. It has like this one has like this 90s vibe to me. Like that should be a trading card from the 90s even. So it's hitting on all these nostalgic beats and everything.
It's got a Just Go flavor, yeah.
It does. Like Dan Mora also made my list specifically for World's Finest, his work on that, because he was able to take on the entire DC universe inside of the pages of that. And the way that he draws these characters, he almost has like, it's very Jim Lee-ish to me, but definitely his own style. Less line work, but you still get this Jim Lee flavor. And then, let me see if I have one right here. That'd be a lot easier if I did. I do not. That, Superman Son of Kal-El 18B cover, that John Jane cover, by far that was like the cover of the year for me personally, because it was the first time Jane got to do Superman, and not only did he get Superman on the cover, he got him and John both, and it just like his art just for me is like something like that just hits differently for me, and that cover just it was everything. Like I'm like that is just amazing. Okay, but pretty much 3 artists that hit on Superman big this year were my list, ironically.
For me, I'm going to go cover artist first, and then I have interior. So I left off Alex Ross and Arthur Adams on purpose, just because they're just my favorites. One is the master, and the other one is just my childhood favorite artist that's still in the game and is still as incredibly relevant now as what he was in the 80s. But my number 3 spot for cover artist is Natalie Sanders. She does a lot of exclusives and variants for DC, and her her particular flavor this year was like those Vanity Fair type of variants. She's done Harley, she's done Poison Ivy, and they are just breathtaking every time I see one of her work. And for me, she's come out of nowhere in the last couple of years, and this year she really hit what she was striving for. Number 2 is Warren Lau. Warren Lau just today dropped
Power Girl,
arguably a cover of the year nominee as well, with the Power Girl for Action Comics that's come out. And how nice it is, we're gonna see Power Girl again. But again, this year he also did a Harley Quinn cover that was a nod towards J. Scott's Campbell, where MJ was sitting on the couch having a coffee with Peter, web swinging away outside the window. He did a Harley Quinn one. That's, I think, may have just arrived in the mail for me. But either way, Warren Lau is definitely an artist now I can't miss when it comes to his covers. And number 1, like if anyone watches my channel, you all know who I'm going to say, but it's Jenny Frison. Jenny Frison's artwork, whether she's doing indies or DC, is incredible. Right now, I don't think there's a better Poison Ivy artist than Jenny Frison. Never mind her Something Is Killing the Children stuff, which is exceptional. But her Poison Ivy stuff for the Poison Ivy limited series that we've had so far, by the way, when I get to my DC list, you may hear me repeat this again. But Jenny Frison is just an incredible artist. And again, it's one of those books, when I see her work, it's hard for me not to pick it up. I even picked up I Hate Fairyland just because she did the artwork without any kind of knowledge what what the book was about. Pardon me.
I don't think anyone knows what that book's about still.
Yeah, and it's apparently it's the second volume. But anyways, yeah. For interiors, for me, number 3 would be Becky Cloonan. Becky Cloonan's has been the mainstay artist for Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman is one of those books that I quietly read throughout the year, ever since Meredith Finch and David Finch did it way back in 2015 when I got first hooked up on Wonder Woman. I've been reading it quietly ever since, and Becky Cloonan's artwork is something that is just a mainstay. It's now who I think of when I think of Wonder Woman. It's her Wonder Woman that I think of. Number 2 artist interior would be Patrick Gleason. His Spider-Man, the 4 or 5 Spider-Man books that we have throughout the year scattered with his artwork in it is just exceptional. This is someone that Marvel may want to consider just putting on ASM full-time when the contract with JR is up. And never mind his ASM 55 cover, which is now iconic. He's got other covers with Spider-Man and Miles and other Marvel characters that have just been fantastic. But his interior work is just as good as his cover work. It doesn't deviate whatsoever. And number 1 is Werther Dell'Edera. Now, the only reason why I'm saying him is because of Something Is Killing the Children. I cannot picture that book any other way. It's the same thing with Department of Truth. I can't picture that book now any other way. And I've come to respect that artwork so much that when there's any kind of deviation or someone else attempting to draw Erica Slaughter or the monsters or the brand new villain coming from Europe that's out to assassinate Erica Slaughter, it's got to be Werther Dell'Edera.
I can forgive his artwork, but his panel layout choice is unforgivable.
That's edited that way. That it's got nothing to do with that.
I didn't know that. I honestly did not.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Tynion has that done specifically with the editor's approval.
Arrows in between panels in that book. It is ridiculous.
But yeah, it's his artwork is definitely outside the box. It's not the norm. It's not the clean and tidy stuff that we expect, especially from DC with their big franchisable characters. But it's something that's just pure Something Is Killing the Children now. And again, it's something that I cannot picture anyone else doing, much like Charlie Adler with The Walking Dead. I don't want to see anyone except for Charlie handle The Walking Dead. It's the same with Dell'Edera for Something Is Killing the Children.
For me, this was actually a conversation we had because I don't even know what a cover looks like, to be honest. I get as pumped for a single page splash that's well done as like all the rest of the comic book community does for a cover. So for me, covers don't really stand out. So all of my picks are kind of like interior artists. And there's some great stuff that, especially Chris brought up, like Martin Simmons, absolutely phenomenal. I didn't even think to put him on the list, but I should have because I like the way he does things. But my number 1 was, of course, Dan Mora. Like, I've been following this guy since Go-Go Power Rangers. I love all of his work. He never does wrong. I really like what Mark said about him, just like super clean line work, very simple line work, but you still get a ton of like emotion and character in those simple lines, and then he's always teamed up with some great colors that really just makes it all pop on top of it. Um, for number 3, I put Bruno Redondo, who did Nightwing. I really like his art in general, of course, but especially in the Nightwing book, what stands out about his art is like how playful it is when he does like the little IKEA instruction stuff, for whatever, like he's putting his poles together and all that kind of stuff, So I really like him, not just because his art's good, but also because he has like a great sense of like playful style and when to sprinkle that in. And then my number 2 actually is Simone Di Meo. And I really like him. I felt like he evolved a lot this year. He started, like, my first discovery of him was in Power Rangers Beyond the Grid. And you could see a lot of the stuff that he's doing now. It just wasn't quite there. Like, it wasn't polished. It wasn't, like, user-friendly enough. And so now, like, this year, we've really seen him bring it together and really pop. He's been posting a lot of stuff on social media where you actually get to see his process for, like, some of the covers he's doing. But his big standout, I guess, this year and even last year was We Only Find Them When They're Dead, where you really get to see him like flex his style and really put himself out there. And I think he's just really evolved a lot this year, and so he was kind of a standout artist for me.
There was so many to pick from this year. I think. I mean, I could have gone with Liam Sharp for the interiors on Starhenge. Could have gone with Liber Mayo for covers.
Yes.
Strong year.
Mhm.
So we got to hit Marvel. Chris has said you got Marvel list and DC list for what series?
But this is just my favorite 3 titles from each of the publishers, and
Okay.
I'm going to say this straight up. DC killed Marvel when it came to storytelling this year. It seems to go back and forth through the years. Let's be honest, some years Marvel is strong.
It's been going one way for the past 3 years, though.
But DC,
DC's been rebuilding. No, in all sincerity, remember a few years back they did the massive cut, and then they were slim and focused, and they've been doing good rebuilding. That's what you'd want to see happen.
But number 3 would be Devil's Reign. Devil's Reign was a limited series that Chip Zdarsky handled, where it was a battle basically of New York City politically at the street level. We had Daredevil, Spider-Man, and Luke Cage basically as the 3 leads going up against the mayor at the time, which was Wilson Fisk. We all know as the Kingpin and his army of assassins that were trying to rip apart the core of New York City that way. It didn't get silly. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't what the King in Black was. It was just good street level Daredevil, Spider-Man, Luke Cage storytelling, and it ended well with the good guys beating the bad guys. And in the end, that's all you want. You don't want any trickle down stuff. Stop it. Anyways, number 2 was Black Widow. Black Widow was by Kelly Thompson. It was a crossover. It started 2021. It finished in the late spring this year. It was exceptional. A story about human trafficking with an assassin that was chasing Widow the entire time throughout the globe as she dealt with separate missions, trying to figure out what was going on with this human smuggling. It was fantastic. And the cover's done as well by Adam Hughes. You could have had pencil sketching on the cover, like just Stickman, and it wouldn't have mattered. The story was that good. Stickman. And number 1 by far, Empire of the Spider-Man Miles Morales was the best storyline, best series I felt that Marvel put out. That Empire of the Spider was just terrific. Again, it was one of those curveballs that you don't expect coming, where Miles loses, and the fallout from him losing is an entire universe goes upside down, and where Miles doesn't exist, where he dies, and his sister picks up the title of being the Spider Woman there, and where our Miles crosses over to help his sister against a clone that is a clone of Miles in Empire of the Spider. It is just terrific storytelling. And let's switch over to DC.
Hold on. I got from Marvel.
Okay.
So I don't read a lot of Marvel. I'm just going to put that out there. But I try to read a lot of Marvel. And I found that they were doing something really interesting that actually did hit for me really good. They've been doing all these retro titles where they've been getting like titles and they're just placing them back in the 90s or the late
Sorry,
80s.
Mark. I literally thought you were going to offer nothing for Marvel, but I know exactly where you're going, so I wanted to apologize.
Yeah. So I read some fun stuff. The Silver Surfer Rebirth miniseries by Ron Lynn and Ron Mars. I had a blast in that issue one when he just looks up and says, "To me, my board." I'm like, "Oh my god, yes, yes!" And the artwork, it just took me back. It was fantastic. I want to give Chris the finger when I say this. Maestro had the finale to the prequel series, and that was a blast watching him go against Submariner, working with the Abomination. Like, it was just awesome. We got this really cool retcon where we find out that Toro, the Human Torch's old sidekick, Human Torch, was really the Maestro's right-hand man all these years. They never revealed that, or they added that, and that was such a cool little turn. And the new Fantastic Four was the other retro one where we had the team with Spider-Man, Wolverine, Joe Fixit, and Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. Another just fun, unapologetically good time comic book. And then when it comes to actual like books, dude, I'm loving Ghost Rider. It had a couple issues where you're just like, what the hell just happened? Did we just lose one of the best ongoings? But it seems to be correcting. So it's going to make the list. Go check out that new Ghost Rider. Best Marvel ongoing of the year. Hands down. I can't think of anything that holds a candle to say it, Chris.
Punisher.
Goddamn right. That book is just, again, hard to even really compare it to other stuff because it's such a genre of its own. Like, from the artwork to the pacing of the storytelling to the structuring of it with getting the flashbacks, adding into his backstory and balancing that with the current events in the book. It's something special about that book. Big ups to the writer. Jason Aaron, is it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Big ups to Jason Aaron. Like, wow.
Yeah. Punisher made my list as well. I mean, it's like number 8 in my ongoing list, but that's the only Marvel title that I read and stuck with, so that says a lot for it in the first place. But everything else you said, it's just like top notch, unique, and it's gory. It's definitely a tough read sometimes, just because of the weight of the material. But at the end of the day, like, it's one of the most unique titles on shelves, and it's definitely enjoyable.
I recognize most of the books that Mark was talking about. I remember some of the story that he was just talking about being in a book called Maestro, but maybe there was one I missed. Okay.
Yeah, so I see people in the comments saying something about that. So if you follow this channel, like, we've been going on about this for a long time. So I first read Future Imperfect as a child who didn't, what is it, Italian, Chris?
Yes, Maestro is a conductor.
Yeah,
yes.
so Maestro, master is Italian for master and all that stuff. So as a child who's a massive Hulk fan who cut his teeth reading on comic books growing up, I was just phonetically sounding out a word. And if you read it in English, it's Maestro. So I went my whole childhood thinking it's Maestro, not having other people to talk comics with until I got older and learned like what the word Maestro is. It's like a young teenager kind of thing. But forever in my mind, it's always Maestro. I would like, it's just natural just to say it. But it's an ongoing joke that we have here, and I'm not changing it. I'll say Maestro every time I see that word in my life, except when it pertains to the Hulk. It just instantly comes out.
And I can understand that, because growing up where I am here in Canada, the official second language.
Trapster. If you catch him, you actually win the gold that's in his trunk. That's the thing.
The official second language is French. So I've had to go to French class right from grade 1 all the way through to when I finished high school. So I fell in love with the X-Men at a very early age, and I wasn't aware of the word rogue. However, knowing French and being able to speak broken French, I knew that the word rouge represented the color red. So myself and my friends, we all referred to rogue for years as rouge until the cartoon came along and blew our minds that it was actually rogue, because most people didn't use that word when we spoke about comic book villains. We just said bad guys, not rogues.
That's how I was referring to the Dolphins last night.
Yeah.
I was checking out, like, God, if these bad guys win, what are we going to do tomorrow night without Chris?
I'd read a Rouge versus Maestro book.
Yeah.
Rita Rouge versus Mason.
We
Are y'all have any more comics you want to hit on? You want to move over to some of the TVs and shows that we enjoyed this year?
I do have to give props to DC.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Go ahead. Go ahead.
My number 3 is Action Comics. This was we've talked about this on this channel for from my beginning of my time on Sunday nights. We've all agreed that Superman needs a good writer, and more importantly, we need a Superman writer there for the long haul. No 6-issue, no season long stuff. We need someone here for long haul. And by God's good graces, we got it. And what a Superman that was delivered to us. And he just seems to handle Superman across the board. It's almost like everyone has to check in to find out, is it okay if we have Superman talk this way? Because we had Superman talk such a negative way before, or think, I could kill you right now, or I could put my fist through your head. I forget what that thought was. And then collectively, we all thought, this is going to be rock bottom for Superman writing.
Bro, I burned that writer down in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, he's dead to me.
Yeah.
He is dead to me.
Yeah.
I won't even grace his name. I'm just kidding. What is his piece of shit's name?
John Ridley.
John Ridley. If you see a book written by John Ridley, do not give it your money.
Yeah,
the worst steward of a comic character ever. I bought the Penguin book too, Paul, and I regretted it.
Yeah, I did a list of writers as well.
Yeah, I have one of those as well.
Yep, me too. My number 2
Mark, you suck at your assignments.
I'm right. I'm taking, as y'all are naming them like writers. Let me add them to the list.
My number 2 DC title for this year, and it still hasn't concluded yet, is Poison Ivy. It's just one of those guilty pleasures to watch the villain come up with this fantastic idea and try and correct human nature, and by correcting Mother Nature, only to have it spiral so far out of control that she has to be the one to turn around and throw her plans out the window to try and stop her original plans from happening. It's just so much fun. And number 1, with a bullet, above and beyond everything, is just my favorite read. And it's Tynan's magnus opus to DC. It's DC versus Vampires. And it is just so much fun.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I can talk about sentimentality with Superman. I can look back at Nightwing and appreciate everything that Nightwing has done, especially from 80 right to where it is now in the 90s, about to cross over to 100. But DC versus Vampires for me is just so much, oh my God, fun that it has to be number 1. And everyone, if you haven't read DC versus Vampires, you're doing it wrong. Go pick up the collected 1 through 6. Find those issues. They're not worth millions of dollars. It's just so much fun. So much fun.
Just to hit on some that that shouldn't go under the radar, that should be mentioned on this show from DC specifically. Suicide Squad Get Joker was this year. That book was redonkulous good. Like, talk about a proper Jason Todd Joker story, redonkulous good. And on top of that, Suicide Squad Blaze was redonkulous good, which is going to lead me over to the writers list.
I just want to give a spotlight to my number 4 spot was Rogues from DC earlier this year.
Joshua Williams showed out.
Rogues was on my list as well.
That was his first black label, and then he did his first event as well this year.
I think next year we may have to make just a black label list, because it's not. I feel like it's not fair putting black label stuff in with the normal DC stuff, just because
you're unrestrained.
Is there, right?
Yeah, you're just unrestrained. But then I also put the Suicide Squad proper title on a list of things to mention, because that book finished this year and it literally carried the continuity of DC Universe while they rebuilt it. That title did it, and it didn't do it like it was difficult. I forget who wrote that book. Was it Robbie Thompson or something like that, or is that right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But dude, they did it phenomenally. They made it fun. They made it intense. They did like so many good balancing of different characters and everything, and they capped it all off with Amanda Waller like solidifying her place that she already had as the baddest bee in the DC universe. Like, she's like the female Lex Luthor, except she's more successful.
Yes.
And then the final one I have on it would be a crime not to mention it, is Swamp Thing. The 16 issue run that we had this year was
Also made my list.
oh,
Yeah.
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 I see what you did
All right.
there, Taylor.
Are we doing writers now?
Sure.
go for it.
Okay. I found it really hard actually to narrow it down to 3 because there were just so many, so many good this year. But my 3 in no particular order are Tom King. To me, he was the most consistently good writer. Everything he put out was just incredible. Um, Joshua Williamson, because I feel like um, he is shepherding DC into the next generation. Um, and I think we mentioned on some of our shows that he's kind of like the Jeff Johns, this era's Jeff Johns. So,
That's what he's shaping up to be for sure.
right. And then I'm going to go with Ram V because to me, Ram V is he is like a maestro. He is like, I mean, he is to me he's like a writer who is conducting an orchestra to produce this amazing thing. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
And actually his detective work actually is kind of has a whole operatic theme to it. But he is like conducting all of these different pieces to produce this incredible work.
For me, my top 3 writers would be number 3 is Stephanie Phillips. Stephanie Phillips is the writer that handles both Grimm and DC's Harley Quinn. Grimm is something that it would probably be on everyone's top 5 independent lists. If you read Grimm, it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of world building while it's doing some fun storytelling as well, with that element of evil lurking in the background. Her Harley Quinn is so much fun to read. It's not a deep dive into Harley the way that Palmiotti did it a few years ago, but it's still good. Number 2 is James Tynion IV. Just because this man has his hand in so many different projects and delivers basically almost to the point where everyone would enjoy one book that Tynan's doing right now, whether it's the Department of Truth, something is killing the children, Nice House on the Lake, DC versus Vampires. The guy is just delivering. He's got something for everybody, and it may not be something that everyone enjoys, but I'm sure there's something that someone would pick up and say, I really like this. And number 1, like with a bullet, is Chip Zdarsky. Chip Zdarsky's got so many stories on the go, and everything is delivering. Daredevil needs to be a little bit better, but he's turned around Batman right now. He's got Daredevil. He did Devil's Reign. He's got Stillwater. He's got his other independents, New Burn as well.
Batman just re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, just wearing his regular bat suit. You lost me on that one, Chip.
But yeah, it's for me, Chip Zdarsky.
He pulled his underwear off and put it on his mouth.
Come on,
like
comic book.
That was,
I mean,
but I'm enjoying it.
What about Justice League Last Ride? Was that this year or was that last year?
Yeah, no, that was this year. That was Zdarsky's.
I was almost going to give him credit for this year.
But yeah, that's my top 3.
Ryan,
Phillips, Tynion, and Zdarsky. Ryan?
Yeah, so for me, man, I'm just going to give you all 5 names I pulled because most of them have been mentioned anyway, but in no specific order other than maybe like the first one. I got James Tynion IV, Mark Waid, Tom Taylor, and then of course like top 2 is Tom King and Ram V. So I don't know, those 5 writers like wrote all the best books this year in my opinion.
So I'm just gonna do 3, and of course they're all mentioned: TK, PKJ, and Ram V. Tom King, Philip Kennedy Johnson, and Ram V.
Can't believe
and
I left
no
PKJ
specific
off.
order other than that top one. That top one earned that spot. Like Paul said, the most consistent deliver. Like, and he gave us Human Target, Supergirl, Gotham Year One, the Superman one shot, the Riddler one shot. He has been going nonstop. I'm pretty sure he wrapped up some series this year. I think Strange
Batman Catwoman.
Dude, he gave us Killing Time.
Yeah.
Catwoman. Like, this dude is on fire. He's about to bring us Braven the Bold.
Yeah.
He's got Danger Street that just hit. Like,
the Game of Thrones one as well.
Like, dude, this guy's on fire.
I do want to give just a quiet shout out as well to Daniel Warren Johnson, obviously, and the Miranda brothers. those guys, they only had one thing each that they worked on, but it was really well done as well.
Yeah.
So that's going to wrap up the comic portion. We're going to move over to video media. We're going to stick with the comic book stuff right now. We're going to stick with comic book content now, and then at the end we'll add on the stuff outside that, because I'm going to tell y'all now, movie of the year does not go to a comic book film, not by a long shot. Yeah, America.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I know what your movie of the year is.
Yeah. Everyone knows what movie it is if you got any common sense. I've already heard the theme song. I can already feel Paul Soul saluting me. Like, yeah.
Negative, Ghost Rider. Okay.
All right, let's start with TV shows. Like this one's a shoo-in. I'm not even going to do it. Yeah, we'll do top 3. So for me, in order, number 3 was Superman and Lois, because they've just really captured the essence of Superman perfectly, but they did it in a way that we have not seen before, with the family dynamic beyond, like they did their own family dynamic. Instead of having just John, they had twins, so they're doing their own thing. They're established on their own earth. They did it in a tone and a style where they left the Arrowverse behind and decided this is its own thing, and it landed. Again, 2 seasons back to back. It was must-watch television for me. Me and my wife had to sit there, and we soaked up every second. It was phenomenal. And the exact same thing is for my number 2 pick with Stargirl. Damn it, that show's good. We just yesterday watched the last 2 episodes. Amazing. Hits every note. It pulls the essence of the source material of the characters they're dealing with and brings them to the show. They don't take their names and make something they want to make with the names. They respect it. You can tell Jeff Johns had his hand all in this. It was just great. The number 1 superhero television show, and this is not debatable. I don't care who you are. Peacemaker. That was the television show of the year for me. It was definitely the best superhero show. Oh my God. Every episode I was cheering or laughing or crying. Like I still just picture him like breaking down, having that episode in his like trailer at the end of episode 3 to House of Pain, like just like trying to dance, cry his emotions out, which was like on point for that show. That finale was insane when he was stuck between the choice of the crazy alt-right father he has or the far save the planet psychopaths that he was dealing with, and he just cut them all down. Like, I'm like, dude, if this isn't the best subtle social commentary, especially coming from where James Gunn came from, flawless. Absolutely flawless.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my number 1 TV show. I didn't really divide my video content up because I watched so little that I literally took all 6 things I watched this year, comic book related, and put them in a list. So top 3, number 3 was The Batman. That was a phenomenal movie for me. Number 2 was Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and then my number 1 favorite comic book video content of the year was definitely Peacemaker.
Yep. I had 4 as well. I had Stargirl. I had the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. I had Sandman at number 2, and I had Peacemaker at number 1 because it was the best TV show done this year with the breakout character of the year with Vigilante.
Yeah. Yes. If you notice, you can't see him, but he's between us. He made center top of the thumbnail.
My top 3 is,
I didn't forget about the boys. It just for me doesn't make the list. It's just
well, it's funny that was just mentioned. My number 3 is The Boys. I enjoyed the Canadian made project, but yeah, the trials and tribulations that show went through this year, and never mind the raunchiness, I just enjoyed the whole idea of a Captain America character going up against Superman, and when you throw in the whole family dynamic, I thought it was just fun. Number 2, I'm kind of surprised you guys didn't say this, but Werewolf by Night was fantastic.
I put those under like film because they're just short movies, so I didn't put those in the TV show list for me.
So I put Werewolf by Night as a TV show just because it showed up on Disney Plus. It was an hour runtime, but it was incredibly original. It helped turn around Marvel's terrible year that they were doing. And I really like the fact that they seemed to take the reins off the director and let him come up with this incredibly original idea and let him run with the ball. It was so good. The characters were intriguing as they all fell one by one. And then it was a big curiosity. Well, which Werewolf by Night are we going to get? Are we going to get the new one, or are we going to get Jack Russell? And, lo and behold, we got Jack Russell, and the actor who played him did a terrific job. And at the end, we had Man-Thing, and Man-Thing turned out to be such a sweetheart of a character. Really enjoyed that show. And number one, and how you guys haven't spoke about the goddamn introduction, the intro of Peacemaker, I'll never know. Peacemaker's intro is better than anything else that was on TV. Never mind the show itself.
You couldn't skip it.
Routine. Hello, everyone. The dance routine that was a part of Peacemaker was incredible. Boom. Comic vet out.
You do that on every live stream now, huh?
Yeah, Peacemaker was phenomenal. So I didn't put those one shots on my list. I was going to save those for movies. Otherwise, I wouldn't have any Marvel on it. Just kidding. But yeah, if I move over to movies, like I would have 4 as well. I would put both of those shorts on there. I loved Werewolf by Night. I'm a Christmas head. Like I'm a sucker for the holidays, and that Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special was something special. Like it had all the heart of a Christmas thing. They really progressed the plot of the Guardians. Like it was just great. But outside of those, comic book wise, I had a blast with Black Adam from start to finish. It was just fun. It was nonstop. Getting to see that proper introduction of the JSA like they did, it was great. And I think, in all seriousness, the best superhero film of the year was The Batman. Like, dude, there's just so many hits in that movie that I'm just like, that was fire.
Okay, I'll go next with my top 3 films then, comic book based films for the year. Number 3, I'm gonna go with you guys may have a laugh, but League of Super Pets.
Oh no, that was good.
I expected this to be just trash.
My number 6.
I can't believe I'm gonna go watch this, but I watched it and it was so much fun. I really enjoyed what they did with the Justice League in this, the whole Superman thing and his relationship trying to date with Lois and get the dog out of the way kind of thing. And just, it was so much fun. And to see character development, it was really well done. And never mind the voices that were part of it. The movie itself was just a lot of fun. And I hope everyone's children or anyone that reads comic books, just go watch that movie. You'll have a real good time. Number 2 was Black Adam. I struggled with the visual effects of the villain at the end with the battle between Black Adam and the villain. However, the introduction of Hawkman and Dr. Fate stole the movie as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, Black Adam was a fun character to watch.
He was there.
With the whole, I kind of felt like a nod towards Schwarzenegger one-liners through the movie. I thought that was really well done. But Hawkman, when he spread those wings, and then Dr. Fate, when he multiplied many times around, that was just so good. And number 1, me being who I am, is Wakanda Forever. Just the introduction of Submariner finally into the MCU. Get to see Shuri's rise and the struggle that she goes through, not being able to understand or handle the death of her brother, then understand that she now has to pick up the mantle whether she likes it or not. And to see when she finally takes the herb that she sees Killmonger on the other side, and the struggle then that creates was just good storytelling for me. So Wakanda Forever for me is the best comic book movie of the year.
All right. For me, number 3 is one that I really enjoy, but was a direct-to-video. To me, was Super Sons. I really enjoyed that movie. I thought the interaction between Damian and Jonathan, and just the way it was written, it was it felt like it didn't feel like other direct-to-video movies that I've seen. It really hit on a lot of different levels. And then to me, Black Adam was number 2 and the Batman was number 1. So we've already talked about those. So.
Yeah, honorable mentions include nothing. There was a tight year.
My honorable mention for TV shows. My honorable mention for TV shows was Harley Quinn. My God, that's such a good
show.
I had it written down and I didn't read it, so I just wanted to give an honorable mention to Harley Quinn. It's so much fun that show really is. Okay, Mark.
I will say my
like
favorite
Doctor
movie, my favorite movie of the year, definitely Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, or however it's put together. But
that multiverse movie.
yeah,
I
that
thought it
movie, it's super unique. I mean, it's not a comic book movie, so it didn't
Michelle
make
Yeoh
this
movie?
list. Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's the main character. Her husband is Short Round, and it's like multiverse, and I think people kind of overhyped it a little bit when it first dropped, but it is like top notch. It's just not quite what I felt like a lot of the reviews described, in the sense that they kind of compared it to The Matrix, how like every movie after The Matrix was some kind of response or remix of The Matrix. I don't feel like this was quite at that level, but pretty damn close. Like, it is phenomenal. The action is insane. The explanation is of the multiverse and how it all works and stuff, and why it works is like really cool. It was an amazing movie. And then I will also say, like, Wednesday that dropped last week or the week
Yeah, my
before.
wife just finished it. Kyle said it was awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. It gets a little bit lazy at the end because it's like a murder mystery movie. And I feel like at the end she kind of starts just being like, "I'll just point out everybody's guilty, and then like the real person that's guilty will be all that's left," you know. So it does get slightly lazy at the end, but overall, like the character interactions, the acting, the thematics of it all, probably one of the best series of the year. Yes, dog figures.
Yeah. So to Chaos's point, I Multiverse of Madness was my favorite full length Marvel film of the year. I enjoyed that the most out of the full length Marvel films we got. But Ryan clearly hasn't seen the best movie that dropped this year because it wasn't on his list. So non-comic book movies, you have to ask Mom. So we're adding non-comic book movies to the list, and for me, hands down, Avatar: The Way of Water goes on my list. Absolutely, like that movie was great. Like I really enjoyed it. It is what you expect, but it's not like you can predict the movie as it's playing out. And then the best movie of the year, hands down. Like I don't, it's Maverick. Like it's Maverick. Maverick was like the best movie of the year. Nothing holds a candle to that film.
For me, the best 3 non-comic book movies. Number 3 is Bullet Train. Bullet Train was just so much stylistic fun. Number 2 was New Guy, that Ryan Reynolds movie where he was a video game avatar that became self-aware. That was really good.
Oh, Free Guy?
Free Guy, that's it. Thank you. I was stuck looking at your handle there. But yeah, and Free Guy. But Free Guy was just so much fun. I enjoy Ryan Reynolds, and when he does that slapstick, the slapstick over the top type of comedy that he delivers on, it's kind of like Deadpool. It's a lot of fun. And then when he did some crossover stuff in there with that movie and into the MCU and Star Wars stuff, and I thought that was really well done. And number 1, like Mark said, like come on, like thinking of Ghost Rider, the pattern's full. It's Maverick.
Yeah, it's Maverick. So Chris can be, I'm not saying this in a negative way like I would about Taylor Winder. Chris can be very critical like I can, just naturally pretty critical towards stuff, and that's not a negative thing. So I'm impressed to see that he enjoyed Avatar. That's pretty cool, and I agree. I still think Top Gun is better than Avatar. But again, those are ones that I find it hard to compare because Avatar is Avatar, and Top Gun is Top Gun. And I don't think those are hard movies to compare to other stuff because of what you go to see when you go to see them. It's tough. No way, Mark. I don't know what that one's about. Maverick easily. Top Gun. Yep.
Yeah. TM Nerdy. I didn't
Chris,
see.
what was your number 2? I'm sorry. I had to help Finn.
Free Guy.
Oh man, I was so mad at that movie. I couldn't even enjoy it because that was before Disney did the announcement that they're moving to the adult content on there, parental controls, all that they added this year. They put Free Guy on there. I'm like, oh, cool, fun Ryan Reynolds movie. And Stargirl wasn't playing, and so we were still doing the Thursday night family night. So we sat down with our Zaxby's after work, got comfortable, turned that on to have something to watch with my 2 small children, and with no kind of warning, they throw F-bombs out in that movie. I'm like, okay, Disney, screw you. Like, I absolutely hate that company as an entity. I can't wait to see them make dynamic changes next year because they are absolute trash as a company. That doesn't mean everything they put out is trash. That means Disney as a company is absolute gutter trash, and I have no problem saying it. Family company, like go to hell, Disney.
Paul,
Trash.
what's your top three?
Thank you, Chris.
Actually, I had a very tough time. I think the only movie that stuck out for me all year that I liked was Maverick. Um, uh, everything else to me was Maverick was just all right. No, Maverick was handed. I mean, maybe he was trying to compare things to Maverick, but that was the only movie I could really come up with that I thought was worthy to put on. I haven't seen Avatar yet. I'm going to see it this week, so I probably will add that to it. But
I think that I can't think of like I'm really just getting back to the movie theater, guys, and
Right.
it has been a blast. It has been a blast. I'm going and doing stupid stuff like blowing money on concessions because it's just fun. And dude, it's been so. Oh, The Northman, yeah, that was
The Northman, that was a good. I did
really
see that one
damn
too.
good.
Yes,
I just watched
that
that
was
last
good.
weekend.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
heard it was good. I haven't seen it.
that's tough.
All natural lighting in that movie too.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
very much so.
Okay.
that was a very good movie. I did see that
Yeah.
one.
Gray Man was underrated. My wife liked that one a lot. That's the one with Gosling and Captain America, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, she kept trying to get me to watch it. She watched it over and over for like a week. I'm like, I wonder why she's watching this movie so much.
And when it comes to normal non-comic book TV shows, I can't think of that many, but the one that comes to mind that would be number one for me is House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon was, I thought, oh, well, all right, I guess I'll find out about these characters and stuff, but my God, it was so good. If you don't have to have watched the original series to watch this show and know anything, but yeah, House of the Dragon, the special effects, the storytelling, and most importantly, the class of acting that was in that series was phenomenal. HBO delivered on everything when it came to this particular series. They went all out.
Reacher.
Reacher was excellent as well.
God, that was tough.
And I'm saving the third spot for Jack Ryan when it gets released, just because I really enjoy Jim from The Office as Jack Ryan. So we'll see. Severance I didn't watch, but yeah, Reacher was really good. Again, that was filmed here, like Ontario doubling for Georgia. I never thought that would happen. But yeah.
No, someone's got to do it.
I may be the only person that would say this, but I like Lord of the Rings.
I'm pretty sure you're the only person that says I gave
You
up.
must not be a
enjoyed it.
Tolkien fan from what I hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Who?
Yeah, a lot of Tolkien fans were big mad at that show, and I watched it. I was
Before
just
you
really
even
mad
came out.
knowing that they
Chill
put that
out.
kind of money into a show that was that boring for me.
They all just need to chill out. See, well, look at Dragonborn. He liked Lord of the Rings too. See that? There's
There we go.
Well, Dragonborn's in his name. I mean,
He was in the show. Yeah, I think there's plenty of people out there that liked it. It's just those negative voices are so much louder in the crowd than the positivity.
definitely are.
And Lord of the Rings, I watched the first two, and I'm like, I don't have time for this. Just like with anything that's typically not comic related, and I know it's one that my wife's going to want to watch eventually, so we'll end up watching it together. I'll probably be bored through it, to be honest with you. We'll see. Hopefully, I enjoy it.
I heard really good things about Slow Horses. I haven't seen any of it though.
Dude,
And
yeah,
Severance.
no one
People
mentioned
really
Star
like
Wars
Severance.
at all on this list.
Never heard of it.
We haven't mentioned Star Wars at all on this list, but apparently Andor's last 2 episodes were the greatest Star Wars ever made. Yeah. But we got Obi-Wan this year, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah. I thought Obi-Wan might be the best offering from Star Wars that we had this year, to be honest with you. And
When did we get Luke Skywalker, Chris? When did they bring Luke back?
Luke was at the end of the second Mandalorian season. He wasn't a part of the Boba Fett one that came out.
Was that this
beginning
year or last year?
It was a little bit in this year. And yeah, for me, Andor was just meh. I thought pound for pound, Obi-Wan may have been a little slow in the beginning and had some difficult moments, but the battle at the end, and yeah, Darth Vader showing up being extra Darth Vader-ish was just so much fun. Him pulling that starship.
I'm not the only
back.
one that doesn't like humans.
Yeah.
Dude, whenever Finn needs to go in timeout, I put him in timeout and turn on Andor to really seal the deal. Like that's a good way
You're
to
a
describe
mean father.
Wow.
it. Well, what it does is it reduces the timeout time to
Have
a
you ever heard
quarter.
of spanking? That might be easier.
You can put him in timeout for 5 minutes or put him in front of Andor for 30 seconds and get the same effect. Obi-Wan was so astonishingly bad, I quit. So I don't think this is me now. Hot take for some. I don't think Obi-Wan was good at all. I think it had some good fan service moments, much like Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't think they were trying to make a good movie. I think they were trying to make a good fan service film, which those things are not. You don't have to have both. Like Obi-Wan was just, there was plot holes all through it. There was a lot of just wasteless time you're spending there. It was ridiculousness, but they delivered where it counted. As a prequels fan, like I enjoyed watching every episode to see what they're going to do next. Seeing Darth Vader go ham, like watching them like clash up for the first time since episode 3, like that was all worth it for me.
Yeah. Now, I didn't say it was great. I just said of the Star Wars stuff, it was the best.
Yeah, I'm with Taylor. Obi-Wan was fans turbation. Andor is good if you a-holes are on your ADHD pills. Yeah, wow. That's all I can think. Y'all got anything else that is worth hitting this year? He did make the thumbnail, so I will just say we're trying to turn a negative into a positive here. Donny Cates is leaving Hulk, and that's fantastic news because that's one thing that all fans came together and like unified, held hands and sang in harmony when we found out that Donny Cates
Jed McKay or Kelly Thompson or something.
Yeah, we got the awesome news that Capullo was coming over to Marvel. So how cool would that be if he's stepping in on a Hulk run? That would be dope. Yeah. See what we can do with that character.
And the thing is, the best part of Donny Cates' run was Ryan Stegman doing the interiors.
Yeah, that's nothing like exceptional. It's just Ryan Stegman doing interiors.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done a lot of good things. I mean, Mark Waid coming back to DC.
Big time. In a
that
big
was
way.
Huge. Joe Quesada is going to be doing some covers for DC.
Yeah.
Yeah, who would have thought the date? Does this mean now Marvel characters get to have cigars again?
I don't know.
Like put a cigar.
Wolverine had him in the new Fantastic Four, didn't he?
Yeah, right. Because he's the guy that took the cigar out of Wolverine's hand, and J. Jonah Jameson as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Capullo and Cates are doing something together. Well, I guess I'm not going to be seeing Capullo's interiors. Comics, movies, TV shows you're excited for next year. I'm excited for this Flash movie. Don't at me.
Yes.
I'm excited for Jon Snow.
I'd be excited just for Snow. I'd settle for that in Georgia.
No.
Ryan, what's something you're looking forward to next year? Whether it's comics, movies, TV, anything. Something on the
I'm
radar.
excited for the whole dawn of the DCU.
Yeah.
And what that's going to bring, and all the titles that they're bringing. It seems like they're bringing back a lot of the titles that they had in the past. Like, Green Arrow is going to have his own title. Hal Jordan's going to have his own title. John Stewart, the Doom Patrol. A lot of that stuff is coming back. And that's only half of the year.
Doom was last year, right? Because I checked with Chris on this last night when we were on a stream.
Yeah, wasn't that 2021?
Yeah, Doom would have been all over this conversation tonight if it was this year, but he pointed out he got nominated for Oscars last year.
Yeah.
Or is he referring to the new Dune? When does that come out?
It's not even starting filming yet.
No, but that is supposed to be next year, though, isn't it?
Or is it 24?
I don't know. But yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be awesome.
I'll be honest. There's that part of me that just loves gratuitous violence. John Wick coming out in the very near future.
Continental's getting the television show as well.
Just what?
The Continental, their hotel,
yes, the hotel, that's right.
They're supposed to be getting a spin-off show of some sort.
Yeah, John Wick. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing Ant-Man die. I'm looking forward to Rocket Raccoon not dying, and and I'm looking forward to
Just putting that out in the universe.
You speak good things happen, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Marvel does to turn it around and make King the Conqueror close to the level what Thanos was when it comes to superpowered villains, even though he's not a super villain at all.
That's a fair point. I am interested in seeing how Marvel is going to turn next year around. Like I haven't even seen the zombie Doctor Strange movie or whatever. So like I'm not like an expert on Marvel movies, but I feel like this year was really abysmal for them. So I am kind of excited to see how they're going to turn everything around, because like Ant-Man is one of my favorite of their franchises, and that's dropping this year. So I'm excited to see if the movie that everybody's always considered like the small like tagline to the end of a Marvel year or whatever, like I want to see how that's going to like turn this whole ship around. I think that's going to be really impressive to bring a background character to the forefront like that. So that should be really cool to see happen.
Going back to Dr. Von Hoots, I'm pumped for Transformers: Rise of the Beast. I love the Michael Bay movies a lot.
Honestly,
John Wick.
Pumped for
John Wick 4 looks like John Wick. The rest of those trailers that dropped on that trailer day, like they all look so mediocre. I was like, eh.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say I will also be paying particular attention to James Gunn's social media come January 1st.
It seems like a daily thing at this point.
Right. I was thinking about this whole situation today. I'm like, I don't even know. Like, it's such a hole to dig yourself out of at this point. But I mean, I'm excited to see what comes of DC, and it's like right now, really all my focus is on like Lazarus Planet and Dawn of the DC universe. That's kind of what I'm excited for. More Punisher, definitely. Like on the Marvel Comics front, like more Punisher, please. Yes. I don't know. There's not like a ton I'm like super looking forward to long term, but I definitely am excited to see what happens at the beginning of the year.
Absolutely.
For me, when it comes to comics, just the two things that come to mind is I want a return of John Constantine to a monthly, or to be part of I'm
ducking Chris for when he reads this comment.
All hail Satan for James Gunn, right? And I'm looking forward to Daredevil. To be honest, Daredevil has been pound for pound. Yeah, the Daredevil pound for pound for a better part of 3 years has been the best Marvel offering from Chip Zdarsky, and I'm looking forward to the second arc of this new volume to pick up. So I'm hoping that Daredevil returns to basically the number 1 or number 2 spot for storytelling for Marvel. But goddamn, DC, give us Constantine. Give us Justice League Dark. If not, give us John Constantine in some sort of limited
Green
series.
Hell's coming back in when is it, Paul? January, February?
I'm definitely excited for
Green Hill 3 years
this
ago.
Year. I'm definitely excited for more Damn Them All this year. So I'll say I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Don't really want to get into and unpack the James Gunn talk tonight. Sticking just with the highlights of the year. We'll get back into that after the first year. Like I said, this is the final show for this year. Next Sunday is Christmas. I hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and get to spend it the way that you choose to and hope to.
I was going to choose to spend it on this show, but I guess not.
Well,
tune into the comic,
making no promises.
No one's going to stop you from sitting in your car for an hour and a half on Sunday Christmas night. Right.
Depending on how my day goes, Brian,
It's not in the garage.
Who knows? We're not gonna never say never. But when we return, we'll jump right back in and catch up on reviewing some books that came out this week as well as next week. We'll be doing the gun range segment, and in 2 weeks from now, we should have actual information instead of just getting little blurbs, little heartbreaking announcements with zero context to them and everything. But I look forward to what next year holds for sure. I hope everybody gets out and watches Avatar and comes back next week and talks about it in full spoiler details at that point when we do full reviews and stuff. But stuff that face in a sack. Chris, go see the movie. But until that's going to be it for tonight, guys. I want to let people know what's going on. Chris is actually pushing hard and heavy, dancing his way to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Dancing his way. Shimmying his way.
This is not going to go away for a while, I'm thinking. But
Nope.
yeah. Just Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everyone. Please don't drink and drive. Brethren on the panel, love you guys. This is so much fun. And let's make 2023 even better than this year.
Love you guys as well. And dropping Monday is our final DC Comics deep dive that's recorded, which is on Dark Crisis Big Bang that came out last week. Because next week coming out is the big Dark Crisis #7, and we will be doing a live episode right after the new year, where we will be giving away tons of stuff. So you don't want to miss that. Make sure you look at Mark's and my social media for the dates and times. And then right after the new year, we also will have our next guest key as well. So we got a blast on our Christmas episode. So
Ryan, are you going to keep us posted on what's going on with the JSA over the next week?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to keep posting that. I recorded some videos, so if I ever get them put together, you guys get to see those as well. So, yeah, there's content in the works. I'm sure some of it will drop at some point, sometime. I'll stay posted so that I can let y'all know when that happens.
Sounds good. Well, again, thank you guys for always coming on here and doing this with me. This is an absolute blast. Ryan and Chris been rocking since the beginning with me. That was another highlight of 2023 was
22.
adding Paul to what year is it?
What's my age again?
Yeah. The highlight of this year, terms and conditions may apply. We added Paul to the panel, and it's been awesome having you here. I appreciate you carving time out to come do this with us as well. You add a ton to the conversation, and I appreciate it. And so thank you everybody who's been watching, who's been following along with us as well from the chat. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're not a channel member, consider hitting that join button. Thank you so much to all the channel members. Be on the lookout on social media because I'll be posting what will be in the December Legion Loot giveaway sponsored by Big Time Collectibles. They just sent a huge stack of brand new, amazing exclusives, Marvel, DC, Indie, and there should be, for people like Chris and Austin LeMay, Something is Killing the Children, 1 of 1, 9.8 slab in there as well.
Sweet.
I just have to post it. So that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you all. Have a good night. And as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.